Hello everyone, welcome back. So in our Selenium with Java series, today we are going to see how we can really customize the workflow dispatch GitHub Actions options, right? So as you have seen in our previous session, we have used the workflow dispatch to run or to manually trigger the GitHub Actions, right? So there are so many different ways that we can trigger a GitHub action. One is actually, this is on command, right? One is either you can push certain code into your specific branch and then it will trigger your test case execution. Or let's say that any of your team member or your friends which you are collaboratively working, and then they can raise a pull request, and at that moment it will run your test cases based on whatever the run command you have specified. Or like let's say that as we were discussing, that there are certain instances where, like let's say there is some application change happened where you really don't want to change any of your code, but then you want to trigger it. So then the push or pull request command will not be triggering there, right? Because you are not doing any change to your code. So at that moment, this workflow dispatch, which will be helping you to manually trigger your execution by using the GitHub Actions. Now while doing this, now there are a couple of ways that we can even customize this manually trigger also. Like for an instance, let's say that you want to run only the test.ng XML files, or you want to run only a specific package from your test case, or even a specific group of the test cases. So many different combinations of the test cases you can really execute it, right? Now what exactly you need to do, though we have given one manually trigger option as a button, I will show you that as well, but this command is not changing. Now if you see that this command is always executing a specific test.ng.xml file only. Now if you want to change it, or if you want to change a different XML file, test.ng XML, or you want to run a specific test case, again you need to do the code change, though manually trigger option is available, because this is now static. Okay, so for that, today what we are going to do on this workflow dispatch, right, we will give certain options. Like if you are familiar with the Jenkins parameterization, right, like if you go to the Jenkins parameters, you will see certain options, like you can specify the browser name, the your environment, or what test case to execute. Certain text boxes we are giving, and based on that we are customizing our run command, so that in future when you want to run it manually, you really don't want to change your code, rather just enter certain values into your parameters and then this will execute your test case. So that flexibility we are getting. If you are not understanding, let me explain you that. So see, the maven clean test command, okay, so it is not just limited to running one particular XML file, right? If you go back to this blog, right, which I have written extensively dedicated to maven commands actually, and this is highly recommended to watch, to read this particular blog and try to understand that it's not only the editor, IntelliJ or Eclipse, where you will run the test cases. Even you can run by using command lines. And these commands are very essential. If you use any kind of CI/CD pipeline, this is very much essential to understand that. So today, if you are learning for Jenkins, you can execute that easily with GitHub Actions. You can run that by using the browser stack, or even you can go with any other, like even your ADO pipelines, Circle CI. So all these CI/CD tools, you can use it, but you have to customize those tools by using these commands only. So that is why it is highly recommended to really understand these advanced concepts. So you can just spend couple of minutes, 5 to 10 minutes to understand this. The basic thing is that you just need this your file plugin, and then the other things are pretty easy actually. We have even discussed these things, so I'm not going to really repeat the same thing only, but I will be showing you a couple of options here, so that by using this GitHub workflow dispatch option, you can create certain fields onto your GitHub action where you can enter the details, and runtime you can change or customize your execution. Okay, fine then. Now what I'm going to do, because it is limited to XML file, right, I will be customizing this YML file to fit. It can accept any kind of XML file. Okay, if I don't want to use an XML file, right, I can even tell that which package I want to run, which test case I want to run, or maybe groups, whatever it is there, you can really specify those things. But how do I really write two sets of run command? That is, again, it is very essential to understand. Okay, so now the first here, actually there are two things. One is, what are the different fields I need to specify so that the user can enter the parameter values. So for that, if you want to understand this, let me take you to the GitHub action documentation. So you just search here GitHub actions workflow dispatch parameters. So workflow dispatch inputs, sorry. So if you go here, they are giving input types for your manual, right? So here you can see this is one of the GitHub blog actually, where you can see you can put the on workflow dispatch. See, if I'm just keeping this on workflow dispatch without any input, it will always run this particular command only, because I haven't customized. But if you want to customize, you can add different what you call checkboxes, drop downs, or like a particular text box, any kind of fields that you can specify there. Now at this moment, I'm simply copy pasting this one and adding under this workflow dispatch. Okay, so I'm keeping here. Now let me show you before entering this inputs, right, what exactly this workflow looks like. I mean the default workflow dispatch. For this, let me take you to the GitHub here. Okay, now at this moment, let's go to the actions, and this is my what you call GitHub actions, right? And you can see there is no option to manually trigger here. Why is it that? Because I am not authorized to do that, because this is, I haven't yet logged in. So not anyone outsider simply come to anybody's code repo and then try to trigger that, which is not required, right? That is why first thing is that as a owner, you need to really log into that particular GitHub so that you can get the actions. Now if you see that, come back to this Java CI with Maven, from where it is coming, this is the name of this particular GitHub action or the YML file. Now you can see that before this option was not there, now it is coming, and you can see run workflow. Simple thing, you can simply choose any of the branches and you can do the run workflow. But then here is something, I want to add a couple of parameters actually, and that is what this inputs command will help you. Now type is choice. As I told that we can have multiple fields actually there. It's not just limited to string or something. But for now, I want to enter the user browser name. Let's say that. So I will just put a name as browser name, and the type should be string actually here, because I want to take a string text box actually where it will accept that. And then here description, some name you need to give. Let's say that I will give browser name. Okay, and then options is not required. This is only when the type is choice. Choice is nothing but checkbox or radio buttons, right? So I'm not going to do. And then there is some option, you can even give a default option. Default means if the user is not typing anything, then it should take something as a default. So at this moment, I'm just taking Chrome. If no browsers you specified, it should take the Chrome. And it is pretty similar to this concept. If you really ever looked into my code here, you can see that here we are taking the default option, right? It is the same thing for everything. There is a concept that if the user is not choosing anything, we need to really keep something. Okay, and then you can see there is another field that is coming while I copy pasted message, and it is required equal to true. So required is nothing but if you are not entering, then this run workflow command will not work, because the field is mandatory and you need to fill it. It's like the registration forms only. So I will be here. Now what I'm going to do, see, when I'm talking about browser name, right, it means that I need to specify what kind of what test cases you need to really execute it. So it means that I will put test name. Okay, so you can all keep it as small letter. Test or test's name, because you can accept one or multiple test cases. If you see this particular block, right, I've specified even multiple test cases also you can take it by using a certain command, and that is what I'm going to use it. Now test name, what is this? Now I need to specify a description. So quickly let me add all these details. Okay, so I'm just taking a regex. Now I will tell you what is the regular expression. Now what I'm trying to say here is that I will be putting this command. If you see that maven test -d test, and this is very much flexible actually. So depending on whether you want to run a group, a particular package name, class name, or multiple test cases, single test case name, all these things you can specify into that. So I'm just keeping that as a regular expression there. Okay, and it is not required. I will tell you why exactly this is not required. XML's name. See, either I can execute a set of test cases with a specified browser name, or I can specify directly the XML name. Either these two you need to enter, or this is. So that is what actually you need to make sure, because see, when I'm running any specific XML, one or two XMLs, right, I don't really need to specify the browser name and what test to execute, because those things will be determined by your test case. Here everything is there. So you can play with that. With respect to my current framework configuration, I'm just taking all these things, but this would be a learning experience for you guys, and you can play with your actual framework. Okay, so XML's name and type is here also string. See, even you can add a boolean as well, true, false, you can put it. Now here I will tell, okay, so what will happen, when I will push this particular maven.yml file or this entire code, right, what will happen here into this particular your repo, right, it will add 3 more fields actually here. Let me show you that. So let me just check it real quick if anything is left behind. I think everything is fine so far. So let me just run this one. Run in the sense I will be pushing this particular thing. So I will say update workflow with inputs. I'm just keeping some name. Oops. Inputs. So this is one time effort actually. You don't, every time you want to execute, you don't really need to commit anything. Just to reflect these fields, I need to commit for once actually. And you can predetermine or analyze what are different fields you need to put it. There is one more thing to keep in mind whenever you are keeping this workflow dispatch, right? These inputs will be a subset. You can see I have given a tab space here, and every field, these are the 3 fields, that will be one tab ahead actually, and all the parameter not parameters but the properties will stay again a tab space. So that is what the YML concept. So I'm just taking a commit push and I'm pushing it, and actually I should have what do you call commented this too, because now it will trigger this one also. Let me show you, because push command, right, I did a push command, so by keeping these field updates it will even trigger that as well. See, you can see that I can even cancel this one because I really don't want to execute it. So let that cancel automatically, but I want to show here, and you can see the magic is here. Browser name Chrome, you can change it to anything. Firefox, enter the regex to run a specific test. So what I can do, I can even run this one. So maven test. So I will tell you actually how to really customize. I haven't really done that. Enter multiple XMLs to run actually. So I can put multiple XMLs like how I specified here. One XML or multiple XMLs I can do. But if I just enter here the regular expression, the XMLs, it won't execute it. Why? Because our run command we haven't really changed. I just wanted to show you how these fields are populating here, and you can play with that. But let me show you. See, now what did I say? That either these 2 sets you need to enter or this one. Okay, you cannot really enter all these 3, then your framework will get confused whether I want to run this XML test cases or the specific test cases. That's why you need to specify kind of a if else condition into this run command. So far we have seen only one run command, but today I will show you how you can really play with this run command with if else scenarios. So this is also one of the advanced topics of the GitHub Actions, which is very interesting to learn this one. So for this, what I'm going to do, I'll put two names here actually. So let me just show you that. Okay, so this should be in a proper formatting. You need to keep it. So here, this is not really build, but this is run test. So run test with XML files. Now here, when I'm writing with XML files, right, I cannot hard code it. I need to take this value from this particular XML's name field. Now how do I access this one? See, this is one of the field, right? This is one of the field XML names. From here, whenever somebody is entering something, right, that value I need to take it into this workflow. How do I take it? It's very simple. The GitHub Actions given one particular command. So instead of an hard-coded one, I'll still keep this -d XML file, but here I need to dynamically enter that. So how do I access that variable? So there is this command actually. I'll take inputs, which is my inputs header right there, and I will take XML's name. That's it. And then I will just keep this one. And you can see now this is very customized, right? So whatever value you are entering into this XML's name field, right, that will now indirectly come here. Now this is very long, right? I'll tell you how to even do it as a multi-line. So for this, what I can do in this run command, you will give one greater than symbol. That is the first thing, okay? And then you enter this, and this run, as I told, you need to always put a tab, and then you can have multi-line here. All these things you can have multi-line, which is easy to understand actually. That is just one benefit you will get it. Now the same thing I will tell run test. Now this is if somebody is entering the XML names, one or multiple XMLs, it will execute it. But let's say somebody want to run a specific test case. So run tests, run specific tests, or I will say like this, run specific tests with regex. Regex is nothing but, this is just better understanding. Regex are nothing but, if I go to this blog, right, these are nothing but the regex. I'm just taking as it is. You can give any name. There is no restriction with the names. Okay, now here I'll just do the same thing. But here Maven clean test, instead of a DXML file, what I want to take? dtest actually. So here I'll take this one, dtest. Okay, equal to what? The same thing. I don't want to really take this one, but instead of XML's name, what I need to specify here? This test name. So instead of this test name, and delete this XML, and then you enter it like this, and you can see it is easily understandable what we are trying to do here. Okay, fine. Now what it is, I have to again commit this one because I've changed something here. Now let me just see quickly if everything is fine or not. See, this inputs is coming from here. Okay, so see, browser name I haven't taken yet. I had just taken the test name, because see, if I'm not specifying the browser name here, right, then this browser name will be picked up from here, this Chrome. And for this you have to understand and watch our Selenium with Java framework series, then you will understand that. So I will be adding another parameter. Now how do I accept, sorry, not here, because XML has the browser name inbuilt, I mean inside that I'm specifying. But then when I'm running any specific test case with Chrome, you don't need any new parameters here. But then if I want to specify the browser name explicitly, for that also I have written one command here, and you can see that this is the command. Okay, -d browser equal to Firefox. So this browser is nothing but a customized, or like my user defined browser variable actually. So that is what I'm going to do, d browser, okay, equal to, from where I will be getting this browser value. This browser value I will be taking, oops, sorry, here, but this is browser name. This browser name will be coming from here. Okay, it is just a customize. You see, even you can take the environment QA, or like your staging, prod, all these things you can take it as well. Anything, any one of these parameters, a password, username, everything you can take as part of the parameters. But then you need to be very cautious. These values should, I mean, these parameters shouldn't be a long. Actually, it is hard to maintain, then very minimal, because we don't want to really spend lot of efforts. Like you need to compare what benefit I will be getting, where I'm using. Based on that, you need to spend time to think about this framework designing. Okay, fine. So see, here I can put a space, or I can give a new line. So whenever you are taking a new line, right, this particular sign, right, this particular greater than symbol will take every new line as a space, and then it is evaluating in a single line. So your ways, whether you want to keep it in one line or you can keep it into a new line. Okay, fine then. So I think pretty much we have done everything. Now I am thinking everything we are good. Now let's push this particular. So let me even show you that. So if I want to run this testng.xml file, it will run only one test case. If I want to run these two XMLs, then it will run, or I can run a specific test case with a browser name as well. So I'll show you those things. So let's commit it first, and again with some inputs, and so actually I can say like this with run okay. So there is one thing I forgot to inform. Now if I go to this YML file, right, you can see there are two run commands. Now wouldn't it get confused, because now when you run this, right, I told verbally that either these two you need to execute or this one to execute. Now think about a way, if somebody is only entering this XML name, now what will happen, it will come here, this XML command is already here, so it will run this run command, again it will go to this command, and here these values we haven't entered, so it means that it will fail your build actually. So it means that either I need to run this one or I need to run this one. Okay, so both I cannot put it. So for this there is an option called as if else condition. I can put it. It's a very simple concept. Let me show you that. So what I'm going to do, I'll put one if. Okay, so if I will say that, I'll just copy this one. So if XML name, it means that if somebody entered the XML name field, this field, right, it means that this if condition will be true. Then you run this one. Now the same way, here I can put another if condition here, and I will say that instead of this, if anybody put this particular test name. So if somebody entered the XML name, you run this command. If somebody entered the test or the test cases, specific test cases to run it, then you run. It means that both at a time will not run at any instance, either this run command or this command. So there is no conflict you will be getting. Okay, other things are as usual, you shouldn't be worrying about that. Okay, I believe everything is set up. If everything goes fine, you can have two different sets of ways of executing or triggering manually your GitHub action. So I'll just do a commit push, and I will just push it as usual, and it pushed, and let me go again, it will trigger it. So let me cancel that. Yep, so I don't want to really run here, so I will just cancel this auto execution. But as you have seen here, these are still stays as it is only, but I will show you whether the changes that I pushed is really populating here or not, that if else condition. And you can see these conditions are coming, and I believe everything is now set up. Let's try to run this. Go to the actions of your GitHub repo and go to here, run workflow, and let's just keep it as Chrome only by default, so there is no need to worry about that. Let's say that I want to run specific test cases. Now to understand that, what you need to specify, you just need to specify the the test case name. Now the test case name has to be in this format. It means that package name, class name, dot instead of dot. So this is @test method, right? But I'm just taking till the class name, package name dot class name, simple. So here, now let's go to our repo and try to understand what is the folder structure here. So let me expand this, and here if you see under test, source test Java, under this I have something called as test cases. So it means that I'll specify test cases. You have to give a proper package naming convention. C is capital. You can see C is capital. Let's say I want to run this test product items. And you know what? When you are executing like these customizations, right, always make sure these test cases are very independent of each other. It shouldn't be like first you need to execute this, then you should be running. Okay, whether you are running in parallel, whether you are running a specific test case, this is very essential to keep it separate actually. So this is my package name, this is my class name. Under this class name there is only one test method, you can see, and that should be running. And as I told, if you are specifying the browser name and the regular expression of specific test cases, you shouldn't be entering the XMLs. See, I mean, you no need to write really those concepts here, because it's very internal to your team, so your team can understand that. Okay, now what this will happen, when you execute this one, I'll tell you the command that it will execute. So let me just take here, and I will be just copy pasting this one into a notepad, and I will show you exactly what happens. Okay, so Maven clean test. So instead of this, what it will come, so this will be here, this one, and browser name is Chrome, and you can see that I mean, I can put a space here just to not get confused, you guys, what exactly I'm trying to do. So this is what actually I've specified in my previous in my blog also, right? And you can see this is the actual command actually which is running. Okay, and these are like supportive commands. I have already discussed about that. To run into the GitHub container, I need to specify these things. Okay, now let's run this. Now see, I am not doing any pull command or anything. It's purely manually triggering these test cases. Okay, and then I will run this workflow, and here one new entry will be creating. Just wait and watch. I can just refresh again. Yep, you can see that a new entry got created here, and then it's doing certain things here. So let's wait and see. So what exactly it is doing, it is downloading all the dependencies, and it is executing. And here I should be seeing what test case it is executing. See, you can see that run test with XML file did not run. It skipped actually, but this test case got executed. But let's see what is the test case it executed. And you can see that whatever the test case names I have specified into that run workflow right there, that is coming here, this test product items and d browser equal to Chrome, I left as it is, right? And now if you come back here, this test case runs successfully, but let's see that if it really archived the artifact or not. For this, you need to go to the summary, and you need to come back to here, download this HTML file, and try to see that is it really executed the specific test case that I have mentioned or not. So I'm just opening that, and here you can see only one test case got executed. Okay, this test case which I specified, that only got executed. There is really nothing to put it here, but you can see the test case got passed. Even you can specify multiple test cases also. Okay, fine. Now let's go back to this, and let's run the XML file. Okay, now as I told, if you want to run this XML, you shouldn't be entering anything into this field. Now to just run this XML, let's find it out what is the path of this particular XML. For an instance, let's say that I want to run this testng.xml. See, this testng.xml is on my project directory directly, so I don't really need to provide any of the directories, straightforward, I can simply say that testng.xml. If you want to run multiple test cases, let's say that multiple XML files, you can see here, you can even put these things, but for this you need to specify this command. Actually, let me see that what command I put it. I think last time we have discussed this dxml files, right? So let me do a simple change here, because see, if it is a dxml file, right, you are limiting yourself to this pom.xml. Let me see, I have disabled this xml file here, so I cannot use that. So I need to specify another command here, and which I specified here. You can see that you simply copy paste, instead of dxml you put this command. Now this is very flexible. Now if you are not specifying that xml file, right, it's your file dot is your xml file, the benefit is that you don't really need to specify any of the changes to your pom.xml. Okay, your pom.xml will be free of this hard coding or putting this xml file. This is coming from surefire plugin right here, and I don't really need to specify those things. Now this is one important thing which I missed in this session, but you can change that to this particular command. So that's why I said before, even you are trying this, right, you can utilize these particular commands. And I'll tell you another thing, these commands what I'm specifying here, right, you really don't want to configure GitHub Actions and then try it. You can simply take your this framework in any of the terminal, you can open it, and you can even run here also maven clean test -d test, and you can play with different regular expressions which is mentioned inside that block. Okay, fine then. So let me push this. Cancel this workflow, come back to, oops, not that, come back to this actions, and then select that particular Java CI, and you can see it got cancelled. And now here I need to specify testng.xml. Let's just run one testng.xml file only, and I haven't changed anything to my what you call pom.xml. Now if I refresh this actions, and you should see it will download all the artifacts from the the dependency jar files, and then it should run your test case. So depending on your bandwidth, sometimes it takes time. And you can see that now see at this moment run test with XML files is triggering, and this will skip. Okay, it seems like there is some issue. What is the issue? Let's see that. Okay, it triggered these test cases. You can see that first test case, second test case, third test case asked. Okay, no worries. You can see this specific test got ignored because that's the if else condition we have put there. But let me go to this archive artifact and let's see how many test cases really got executed. So again, as usual, go to that build, download this spark.html file, and unzip that and open that HTML file. And you can see that as I told, there is one test case got failed, two test cases are got executed successfully, and then you can see. So this is the way you can execute one or multiple. Like as I told, you can even specify multiple XMLs also, like you can specify testng.xml comma, again you can put another XML testng. Let's say you have something called as a ui.xml file, like this multiple test cases by using comma you can put it. Okay, so that's pretty much it. Actually, what I want to really take this particular workflow dispatch command to the next level, because I felt it is very use case when your team or you are completely dependent on the GitHub Actions to run that. So hopefully the previous session, how to configure the GitHub Actions and what are the different YML content you need to specify, how you can utilize these commands, right, to play with your test case execution. Okay, so hope this session is useful. Stay tuned and do subscribe to this YouTube channel, because we will be seeing like this interesting topics in our upcoming sessions. Thank you for watching.